How we doing, gardeners? And this video is gonna be about mangoes, and it's gonna be two amazing presentations. One is gonna be from Gary Zill, which is the creator. He and his family did a breeding program, and in that program they plant over 300 seeds or something like that, and out of that cross-pollination and all the things that they did came out fantastic varieties of mango that we collect and enjoy these days that taste amazing. So in his presentation, he's gonna give his opinion, his expert opinion, and information on a lot of these varieties, and I really hope you enjoy. The guy is a guru on mangoes. The second presentation is gonna be with Alex Salazar from Tropical Acre Farm. And Alex is gonna be talking about how to take care of mango trees in small spaces and containers. Again, Alex has been doing this for quite a while. He grows over 300 different varieties of mangoes, and his information is rich. I always enjoy what he can bring to the table. So get a glass of wine, cup of coffee, tea and cookies, whatever. The video is a little long, but not too long, but I really hope you enjoy. And as I always say, go out there, do something. Nature will always surprise you. Thank you for watching my videos and liking it, and it gives me an inspiration to keep on giving you good material and stuff that you can be a successful gardener. But stay tight and enjoy this video. I really think the information is very valuable to anybody that wants to grow mangoes in Florida or in general. Is a lot of good information that you guys will enjoy.
Cultivars that are good for our area and also delicious mangoes. So we're going to kick it off with Gary's. Thank you so much for being here.
I got to start by saying, speaking in front of crowds makes me nervous. I think I could do good with a shot of whiskey right now. But we'll get started. I got a lot to cover. If you can't hear, raise your hands. I'm probably not talking loud enough usually. I actually like to kind of stay in the background. I'm not used to this kind of. But anyway, I want to talk about a whole broad picture of mangoes. I had people ask me, what kind of mango should I plant? And I said, well, what kind do you have first? Let's make sure you get something different. Okay? So, anyway, I think here, I've named like, we grow, I looked at our price list, we had what we're going to grow, 35 different varieties, and I select. Some of this we grew 100 years ago.
Like towards them out.
Can't I got a whole lot of this. You didn't miss anything, so. All right, I'll remember. Okay, first of all, you need to know, this is there are two basic varieties of mangoes, the Indian and Southeast Asian. Everybody knows one of these, at least the Hayden. Hayden, Julie, Bombay, those are definitely Indian types. And Namdok Mani, Obrong, John Chinook, those are definitely Southeast Asian types. And without further ado, I'm going to start right out to break down the, how to get that to them. Anyway, going forward? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to start, let's go back. I want to get these pictures here, and then got my Chinook. This, and this is just what I want to get to. Okay, this is a breakdown of the Southeast Asian varieties the way my taste, anyway, I describe them. There's the mild sweet ones, which I'll show you a picture of in a second. There's the ones that also have a more distinct aroma that's specifically in that type of mango. And then, of course, you might be surprised there's a real good category of green varieties. They're even greener. So anyway, this one, well, I have a picture of mine.
That's the right one, that one with the chart. You got a picture of the chart, right?
Anyway, we'll skip that, but it's a real well-known mango. Just plain yellow. In fact, most of the Southeast Asian type mangoes are all yellow. This is the variety, some of the varieties that have a more distinct flavor. Philippine, which is an old mango variety, I've known for years, as far as back as I can remember. We had a tree in our backyard as a kid. It's a very distinct flavor and aroma. It's very popular in, has been, maybe still is, in Cuba. Originally called Carabao, where it originated in the Philippines. In Mexico, they call it Manila. Oak Rom Tom is another one that's very distinct, very, very sweet, and well known in Thailand. Ma Chinook is another Thai variety that's quite productive that could be in that category. And these are all good. I want to go back to this picture though, these with the more distinct flavors. I want to mention the top three I already talked about. Cat Saigon, I believe it was selected either from Fairchild Gardens or USDA. I'm not sure. It's a very good one of these types. Now below there we have Buttercream, P22, Venus, and so on. You can read that. These are all selections that I made from seed I planted about over 30 years ago. And some of them become very, very popular. I especially like the Buttercream. It's a large mango, it's a good texture, excellent flavor. P22 is a small mango, very concentrated, also very, very good flavor. Venus is a very large mango, very productive, and stays on quite late. In fact, the Southeast Asian types, I think it's the latest one to actually mature. Sweet tart has a sweet and acidic taste. K3, Kathy, had somebody come in the nursery, I think it was Friday, from Egypt, and said it's become very well appreciated in Egypt. And the last one, the Ceci Love, Richard Campbell asked me one time if he could name one of my selections after his wife. And so that's how it got its name, Ceci Love. Now, let's take a look at the green ones. Has some pictures. Believe it or not, in some places in the world, more mangoes are even green than ripe. A lot of that's due to the pressure of insects, fruit flies, I should say. They don't bother the green ones as much as the ripe ones. And some of those are very, very good. I'll show you some pictures. I'm getting ahead of myself. These are some of the selections that I made a number of about a while back. Buttercream, Venus, and Sweet Tart. Now, in some areas of the world, you can read this, but I'll go ahead. Some varieties are eaten green. I know it's been a lot of time in Costa Rica. And down there, I have small growth, and we sell the green mangoes for more ripeness. They can be as crisp as an apple. That sometimes when you cut into them, they'll just crack open. They're so target. They have not too much acidity, and a little bit of sweetness in it. They're really good. What can I say? Here's a picture of two of my favorites, Mun Kun Si and Prom Kamia.
Yeah, but this year there was
And there are a couple of others. There's Kissy Boy and those are four of the varieties that we've grown that we sell a lot of, and they're worth giving a try. They're excellent. Now, there's a couple of other mango varieties of the Thai type that are good. Eaten green as well. Actually, they don't have that crunchiness or that really good flavor, in my opinion, good flavor. They're more mild, but they're used a lot in Asian dishes or sliced and eaten with salt and hot pepper. So this is a picture, you might say, of sampling of the Southeast Asian type mangoes. Now we'll go into the Indian varieties. This gets interesting too. We have the base flavors. Hayden's an example. You can read it. I guess I don't have to read it for you. I'll explain it here in a couple seconds. First of all, Hayden is a variety that was grown in Florida. It was one of the first early selections of varieties that people were really interested in. It's kind of like people even today say, "Oh, Hayden, that's the best mango." Well, there are a lot of seedlings that grew out of Hayden. People selected them. Kent Zill, Tommy Atkins. I'm not sure of the others, but these all have the base flavor of mangoes. It's sort of like you take ice cream, vanilla ice cream, and you have vanilla ice cream that's really good, but you add strawberry or chocolate mint, and you get a different flavor. And that's what you get with some of these other varieties. And they're all good. In fact, there's two of them that I selected as seedlings. One we call Ugly Betty, and what we call Karen Michelle. There's a story about Karen Michelle. That's actually named after Richard Campbell's wife. Not Richard Campbell's wife, Richard Campbell's brother's wife. Mix it up. And I actually put a little picture of it. I don't have time to go into all the details except that it's an exceptionally good mango, very much like an Edward, bigger and a little more productive. Ugly Betty, that's too bad it got named that. It's actually kind of a pretty mango with color, a little distorted and that's how I guess it got that name. But it's an excellent example of what I would call the base flavor of mangoes. It really stands out. Now, let's go on. Well, I'm going back to what I meant by the base flavor. Hey, Hayden's a good mango, little fibers, believe it or not. So we covered that pretty well. Now, let's look at what I call the Julie types. These are, Julie mango was the was the most well-known and favorite mango in Jamaica. Flowers real easy in the tropics. It's an excellent dwarf tree. Not always the easiest tree to grow in Florida. My only drawback is that it really is particular about its, should I say, the vintage or the soil it's in. It's better to pick it green. I don't mean green, but when it's fully mature green, sometimes it's better than if you let it ripen on the tree. You better pick it, or you better pick it up off the ground and eat it that day, because you get a bad overripe taste really quick. And this is a problem with a number of mangoes, believe it or not. Mangoes are tricky, all of them. You don't want to let them sit around too long. And it's more of a problem with the Indian mangoes than Southeast Asia. But it's also not that hard to avoid. You just pick them green. All of the mangoes grown commercially in India have to be picked green. In fact, I tasted one that was tree ripened on a tree. I couldn't eat it when I was over there. Anyway, but that's enough about Julie. But Carrie, there's two generations removed from the Julie. It's a seed of a Julie, and it has a lot of those characteristics. Believe it or not, it's not so bad. It's actually very, very good. It doesn't have that characteristic. It's also quite clean. It doesn't drop into fruit. Angie has I'm getting ahead of myself here. Valkyrie is a very, very good mango. I know some people, it's their favorite mango. It's a strong flavor, fast-growing tree. Angie has a similar flavor. Also, it's in that carry category. It's a compact tree, very productive. It's become very, very popular. Harvest Moon is one of my selections. It's a very big mango, excellent flavor. Yellow, a little blush of pink on it. The most unusual thing about it is I've never seen a mango that big that had such a good texture. And I'll go ahead and move to the next slide and show some pictures of some of these. Anyway, and then, what was I here? We had Harvest Moon, Julie, Valkyrie, Fury. Let me see if I can go back here. Oh yeah, Super Julie and Little Jim. Little Jim's a small mango. These are all three at the bottom here, Harvest Moon, Little Jim, and Super Julie are the ones I selected. It's a seed of the Julie, more than likely crossed with a kid. It comes in very late. If you like Julie and only Julie, and you want something after the Julies are gone, it's good. It's very productive, very late, but very small. Super Julie is a seed of a Julie. Somehow it looks a lot like a Julie. It's more color, more vigor, and anyway, for like Julie, it's a big ring. Again, pick it, ring, or be careful. Now, the other two, East Indian, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name here, we call it PK. The Hindu or Indian name for that, I don't know for sure what language is a number of it means sugar pot, or sugar cane juice pot. These two are juice mangoes. East Indian is excellent flavor, very fibrous. Don't get one unless you want one that you bite a hole and suck the juice out. And some people, it's their favorite mango. It has a real problem with arthritis, unfortunately. Very popular in Jamaica, though. And this other one is a good for a juice mango if you want to squeeze it into a glass or put in a blender and pour it over crushed ice. It's very good. Now I got the picture up here of these Julie types, and let's go on. We've got the Bombay varieties. Okay, Bombay actually originated and is still cultivated in India, where it's called Pahari. We mispronounce it and call it Pahari here. Has a very distinct flavor. Was my mother's favorite mango. I really liked it. Some people didn't because it had such a strong flavor in the aroma. I think when you pick it and smell the sap, it's like perfect, but I love it.
It's good.
It's a small mango, very concentrated flavor. Jakarta is, it should have never been named that. That was a mistake. It's definitely not from Indonesia. It's an Indian type. And it's a cross between Kent mango, which is one of those very good base flavor mangoes, and the Bombay. It's like you take the two and mix them, and you get something that tastes really good. It's a big mango. It's a lot of color, and excellent flavor. And then the Sunrise is a seedling selection that I made that is a lot like a Jakarta. It's a Jakarta seedling, maybe a little more productive than the Jakarta. The Jakarta was a seedling that my family selected when I was a kid, but I can't take credit for it. That was pure luck, and it's still one of the best of that type. And so I've got Bombay. Is this thing going forward or backwards? Oh, I was supposed to show these pictures. Sorry. This is a picture of the Bombay. And this is a picture of the Jakarta. And I think I've spoken all this. You can read it at home. And this is the Sunrise. That's what it is. So, let's see what we have coming up next. I can't leave these out. There's some varieties that I just can't place them in any one category. The Alonso, I think, is a good representation of that. It's got a real mix of flavors. I think when I put the Bombay type and the Julie type, you mix them together along with probably who knows what else is in India. The book that has it's printed in 1957. That's got over 240 different name varieties. So anyway, Super Alfonso has a real complex mix of flavors. It's excellent. Very good flavor. I don't necessarily recommend it for Florida. It can be quite good. It can skip years of not producing. The Super Alfonso, I have to say, I've got to speak about this thing for a minute. But anyway, there's some other varieties here. I think this is the slide here. Okay. Psalm Perry, Neelam, and Kesar are other varieties that have been grown for years in India commercially. And a lot of this straight Indian varieties, because after it's a long dry season, don't do too well for you. These are okay. These will grow here. I'm not crazy about them. They have a road, but then again, they're also very good. And if you want to grow a straight Indian mango, they do well. Let me go on and talk about my favorite. This is probably, of the top maybe 2 or 3 mangoes that I know of, this is my favorite. Super Alfonso. Taste has a very complex mix of flavors, very rich, but not overpoweringly aromatic. It's got plenty of sugar to mix with it. It has, it's very pretty, has an outstanding characteristic that you can pick it fully mature, and it can take anywhere from a week. That's quick as it get ripe. Usually it's about 10 days, but I've had them picked where they took 2 weeks to get ripe and kept in a high temperature, and when they ripened, they were excellent. So it's very good for shipping. It has very good characteristics of that, and it also fruits pretty consistently. I think I got a picture of it here somewhere too. Yeah, this color shows up very well, but it's pretty mango. And there's a case right next to it. This kind of shows you the relative sizes of this. I think I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, I don't want to forget these. Giselle, this one's, it's funny. This is again, I gotta say, this is a great mango. A friend of mine, I was helping it the first time. I remember he just drove up and got out of his car, and I just cut into this. Was, I think, the first year at Frit. I was from India. I cut into it. I said, "What do you think of this?" He said, "Wow, that's really good. It's really pretty. You should name it after your wife." So that's how I got his name. This particular mango, you can peel it, slice it, put it in a blender, make the juice out of it. And you can't. It's phenomenal. But it's also good. It has a little flavor, but not anywhere objectionable to just eat like any other mango in the flavors. It's very pretty. Fruit Punch is another selection that I made that's also kind of in this category of complex flavors. Very pretty, very good flavor. And then there's the Fruit Cocktail. It's a little more of a slow-growing tree, and it's very resistant to anthracnose, and it's very, very good mango. I got 2 minutes. I'm going to have to move along. I'm going to have to go on the lemony types. We got here. There was again about 35 years ago. Somebody brought me some some varieties from Burma. One of them was called Pupai Kalai, and it tastes a lot like orange sherbet. And we named it orange sherbet because that's just what it tastes like. And I didn't think. Pupai sounded very appetizing. So it's a good mango in its own right. It can be quite productive. And I've selected 2 seedlings of that. One we call orange sherbet, one we call zest. They're both very good. Orange sherbet is more of it's more of a dwarf tree. It can be very productive. We've had a lot of interest in growing it commercially because it can be very productive. And anybody that tastes it likes it. The lemon zest, you can read it if you want here, but it's also very, very good, a very good flavor, and it tastes to me a lot like a mix between lemon and Orlando Tangelo orange. It's just an excellent flavor. A quite large tree and a fairly reasonably sized fruit. So that's enough of the lemony types, but they're so different from everything else, every other mango that. Now, I got one last one I'm going to have to hurry through. There is a pedigree mango, nobody knows anything about it. It wasn't very well known because it has some internal breakdown problems or anything else. But a seedling that came up in our grove, it was a cross between a Kerry and a pedigree called Gary. That's me. I actually saved that seedling's life from being cut down. That's how I got its name. It has one of my favorite flavors of mangoes, which comes from this pedigree. You won't find it in any others except some of my hybrids. It's the Gary mango is small, not real productive, but Some years it can be more productive. It's got an excellent flavor. And I also, so I don't have to read this to you, but I was able to find, I planted out over 10,000 seeds, okay? Out of those, I got a few varieties that actually have a mix of this flavor in M4, cotton candy, coconut cream, pineapple pleasure, peach cobbler, but what I really was hoping was something that was even almost exactly like the Gary mango, but bigger. And the closest I was able to come to that was the one called Sugarloaf, which is, again, one of my top favorite of all varieties. But I have to caution you, it's got to be picked green. You have to make sure you get plenty of calcium and boron in the soil, foliar, because it has not nearly as bad as some of the other varieties. And we've had some people just rave about how good it was. But again, these other varieties, M4, cotton candy, pleasure, I think I left out one. Anyway, those are also very excellent varieties that have a hint of the flavor. M4, cotton candy, cream. And I think I'm going to have a hand this over now to the one we call Diamond. It's a seed of an Edward, and it looks just like Namdok Mine, but it tastes a lot like Julie. Okay, you don't know. You have no idea what you're going to get when you plant a mango seed, even if you label the seed and you know what it is. So my answer is you have no idea. If you really want to know what it was, label the tree when you plant it. But it's been probably 10 years before Frit's. So be sure to label it.
Than a tall, lanky one. And a lot of mangoes, if they're left to their own devices, will just get very lanky and very tall without any pruning. So it starts when you plant them. You got to get their scaffold limbs started low. That's the first primary limbs emerging from the trunk, and you really want those to be around waist height and not much higher. And from that point forward, you should tip prune them. Tip pruning helps shape the canopy of the tree. It helps keep it small over a long period of time. And it's one of those things that backyard growers in particular often neglect. They just don't want to cut their trees. They don't want to do it. It's like that beautiful growth came out and you don't want to cut it. You want to let it do its thing. And you have to resist that temptation to just let the mango go. That's just part of canopy management. So tip pruning every 12 inches, 12 to 16 inches, I'd say, when they're small, really helps in terms of developing that low canopy that you're seeking in a small space. You also have to avoid overfeeding them. A lot of people don't realize, but mangoes are very, very sensitive to nitrogen, more so than just about any fruit tree on planet Earth. It's just one of those unfortunate happenstances of the mango and of nature. So a lot of people continue to feed mango trees nitrogen even long after the point that they really require it. Mangoes will absorb nitrogen from all sorts of sources, even if you're applying turf fertilizer. And this is one of those things when I'm out consulting for people, I've seen this before in orchards, where the trees are growing very vigorously and they say, well, I'm not even giving the tree fertilizer, but then I see this lush turf growing around the trees. I've seen this quite a few times. And then I ask them, well, are you applying turf fertilizer? Well, yeah, I guess we are. And guess how much nitrogen is in turf fertilizer? It's a pretty high number. And the mango tree will absorb it, and it will use it. It will find it, and it will use it, and it will make that tree grow faster than it otherwise would if you had stopped feeding it nitrogen fertilizer. So I usually tell people NPK is okay when they're small, but when they become bearing size, you don't need to give a mango tree supplemental nitrogen most of the time. It's just going to create a problem for you. And if you're growing them in a small space, that's really essential, right? Like you can't crowd out that. If you're pouring gasoline on the fire, so to speak, you're just making it more difficult, and your fruit is not going to be as good, and it's going to be a lot harder to keep that tree at that ideal size for that limited amount of area you've got to grow it in. Now, potted trees, right? You can gradually step up a mango tree, but you can't keep it in the same pot forever, right? Leave it in 3-gallon forever, it's going to get container bound, it's going to get root bound, become unthrifty and unhealthy. So The way to do container growing is to gradually step them up, okay, over a period of years. And you can usually maintain them in a 30-gallon plus size pot for quite a period of time. But even then, they can't be left there forever. At some point, they're going to require some root pruning to help rejuvenate the roots and keep them from becoming container-bound and unthrifty. That's not something that has to be done every year, okay? But like ultimately, its permanent home, if you're going to grow a mango in a pot, should be a container that's at least, in my opinion, 30-gallon size and above. It's not going to be a 45-gallon tree or even larger than that. You want to make sure that the soil mix, if you're growing them in a pot, is not too rich. Mangoes actually don't do that great in terms of overall performance when you stick them into rich potting mixes. And a lot of people don't realize that. So they think, well, I'm going to grow a mango tree in a pot. They run out and buy a mango tree. They run out and buy some dirt from Home Depot or Lowe's or something, and it's Miracle Grow, and the tree looks okay at first, and then all of a sudden it's not looking so great. And that's very common. So I tell people usually you want something that's got very good drainage, and that drainage is usually achieved by applying a lot of coarse sand. And coarse sand helps the drainage occur, and so you don't get root rot as frequently. So you can go pretty high on sand. We plant them directly in the sand here in West Palm Beach, and we've got a very deep sand here. There is not a lot of organic matter in the soil, and they do pretty well in it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a concept I call temporary trees. What are temporary trees? Well, sometimes you've got a space, let's suppose, and you want to plant a mango tree, but you know that if you try to grow them tighter than, let's suppose like we're doing it at 16 feet, right? If we try to grow them at 8 feet apart from one another, well, on standard turpentine rootstock here in South Florida, that isn't going to work in the long run. Eventually, they're going to grow into one another despite our best efforts to keep them small. And then you're going to have issues with fruit production and quality and so forth. But initially, you plant that little tree as a 1 or 3 gallon most of the time or whatever. And you have, 16 feet of space, let's just say, the way that we permanently space the trees. It takes years for these trees, if you're doing it right, to grow into one another. Well, during that time, you're just wasting all this space between them. It's doing nothing for you, right? And you could be growing another mango tree in the middle. And so that's exactly what we've done and other growers overseas have done. So we plant 8 feet apart from one another, what we call temporary trees that we grow with the expectation that eventually they will grow into their neighbors or their neighbors will grow into them. And then we will have to remove every other tree. But in the period of time that we're doing this, we will get however many boxes of mangoes off of that tree. And if you do the math, okay, folks, a tree, if you go out there on the exhibit hall floor, costs you anywhere from $35 to $45 as a 3 gallon or 1 gallon plant, okay? Mangoes are being sold right now for $6 a pound. That means that to pay for itself, it only needs to make what, like 7 or 8 pounds of fruit or something like that? It'll do that in its first year. And then everything after that is profit, if you will. So it just makes sense from an economic standpoint and a spatial standpoint. And so we've been practicing this for quite a while, and we've done very well with this temporary tree system. The tree that is circled here is a dwarf Hawaiian that has been fruiting for quite a while. And some of the trees that we've used for that purpose are some of the other ones I described. So Angie, we've used Pickering, we've used Honeykiss, and some others. And we've gotten away with it for a while because we've pruned them, and we've not overfed them, we've not overwatered them. And watering is another important thing if you're trying to control a mango tree's size. So this is something that I'd like to see a lot more people doing. A lot of people are hesitant to do it for some reason, but they could be enjoying mangoes a lot sooner from their backyards or their farms than they otherwise realize. And so I've tried to encourage people to do this. Some other things about keeping mango trees small. Rootstock matters, but it's unfortunately a poorly studied field with mango, relatively speaking. We don't know exactly what stock will work with every variety in terms of attempting to dwarf them. Now, Gary's done terrific work on that, fortunately, and in the future, what I foresee is that we will have rootstocks that dwarf specific varieties, we'll know what they are, and we can take some of these real vigorous trees that are otherwise very difficult to control, even if you're doing everything right, and we can keep them very small. And that's an exciting future, but we're not quite there yet. But we will get there someday, I'm very confident in it.